Hello, guys and gals, me Mutahar, and what a wild day. They released the Epstein files. Oh my god. Now, if you were somebody yesterday, you probably have just seen that, my god, 33,000 files got released. Now, I decided I'm going to spend the entire night, I'm just going to look through this, pour myself a nice glass of the hard stuff, see what's actually new, and much to my shock and awe, actually nothing much new got announced. So right now, because obviously, a bunch of people are getting a little bit pissed that the most transparent government isn't being completely transparent, obviously, I think many people are rightfully asking for information on one of the most prolific human traffickers in human history, right? Somebody that has obviously victimized tons of people, but somebody that has been connected to some of the world's most powerful individuals, right? And the rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper regardless of how much, new information comes out. So obviously, because there's so many victims, right, and people want disclosure, that even representatives that were pretty much on Trump's ass, kissing up his asshole, they were leaving the actual office after they had spoken to the victims, which makes sense, right? Like, obviously, me and you are, watching this through a lens of the internet. We're a little detached, but when you sit in front of a victim to, what might be one of the most gross human trafficking schemes in human history, yeah, obviously it's going to break anybody, right? Like, let's be completely real about this. Now, again, what's really insane about this, too, is like not even a month ago, this was apparently just a big Democrat hoax or something that would never actually end. Even though, as we're talking right now, and as you're probably watching the video, the victims are actually coming out and talking about their experiences publicly for the world to consume. Now, again, this is also a situation where if you're looking closely at like this, resolution, this is drafted by both a Republican and a Democrat in order to release all of this information regarding these Epstein files, right? And as this is actually happening, many people are signing up for this. They're getting involved. They're trying to just ignore all of the, party team sports bullshit and just actually sign for justice. And while this is happening, what's insane about this situation is that, again, you've got the White House telling CNN, helping these guys and those liberal Democrats with their attention seeking, while the DOJ is fully supporting, by the way, the same DOJ that has been part of a shitty cover-up is fully supporting a more comprehensive file release effort from the Oversight Committee. But if you help these guys release this information and try to push it through democratic principles, right, like a vote, would be viewed as a very hostile act to the administration. Again, I don't understand how draining the swamp, which is what this same administration ran on, would consider like a hostile act. Wouldn't this be very much in line with what the fuck you guys ran on? Like, this is stuff that just doesn't make any sense to me. And again, the more and more this story comes up and the more the administration acts, the more it becomes just apparent that this is just the shittiest cover-up. But we'll go a little bit deeper into it because there's one bombshell out of all this that I think really deconstructs all of this, White House bullshit. So September 2nd, right over here, today the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform released 33,295 pages of Epstein-related records that were provided by the U.S. Department of Justice. On August 5th, Chairman Comer issued a subpoena for records related to Jeffrey Epstein. And the Department of Justice has indicated that it will continue producing those records while ensuring the redaction of victim identities and CSAM, which obviously, nobody is asking for. I don't really want to know the victims' names, nor do I want to see the videos and photos associated with the abuse. What I am interested in is who in the elite was actually dealing with this kind of stuff. Who was taking advantage of children? Who was taking advantage of innocent women, men, whatever, people, just human? Who was treating them like cattle? So here they gave a link which leads to a Google Drive that has gigabytes of actual information. I mean, it's 33,000 articles. So again, you've got, a data sheet over here. You've got the volume, which contains natives, images, and of course, looking further into it, I haven't seriously seen every single thing here. I think nobody has because it just came out less than 24 hours ago. But again, you can see that a lot of the images over here, a lot of the stuff is in relation to, again, the interviews being done. So again, if I just turn the sound down here so it doesn't echo through, You can see that, of course, there's interviews being done, and the way that they're presenting it is they're just screen recording. So you can see like the VLC, and again, like this is just fresh from the beginning to end. So again, people can, I guess, verify through this that there are no cuts. But of course, there's more information. So if you've never seen sort of like, you know, the walk around of the property, so to speak, the body cam stuff, this is what it is. It can be chilling stuff for anybody that, you know, is looking at this with complete morbid curiosity. But I want to just say that none of this information is actually new. If you were following this case at all, if you were going down the Epstein rabbit hole, like me and many others, none of this information is mind-boggling and new to you. But if you're somebody that is now catching up, the government at least provided this in a easy-to-view Dropbox. So of course, looking through these images over here, they appear to just be screen grabs. So again, affidavits from the Palm Beach Police Department, for instance. And again, there is redactions to expect over here. In fact, the redactions have gotten to a point where I think everyone's kind of laughing about them. For instance, on the Epstein subreddit, one of the things they showed was the House released this page as part of their file dump. Now, again, I've seen, like, again, for the party that wants to drain the swamp and bring transparency, I fucking love these black bars, dude. I think there is Saudi Arabian porn that is more revealing than what these documents can consist of. Now, out of the 33,000 pages that have been released, a lot of them, obviously, we've already seen before, but around 1,000 pages that specifically deal with the United States Customs and Border Patrol, specially related to, I think, flight logs between the years of 2000 and 2014 are what was actually new in this entire situation, right? And I believe some of the newer documentation, and again, I'm still trying to mostly vet this for myself, is again from the CBP. So you can see, like, again, documentation regarding the arrival of private aircrafts, obviously related to Epstein, for instance, right? Now, aside from a lot of this, there is one piece of information that I think is a pretty interestingly big bombshell, okay? One that kind of puts into question a lot of the things that the current, like, administration has sort of said, right? Now, remember, there have apparently been tens of thousands of videos in this case, videos that obviously the government isn't going to release because they involve children. And of course, the actual Attorney General of the U.S., the top cop, Pam Bondi, actually watched all this stuff, okay? So, again, this is her words, not mine. This is the government saying it, okay? So clearly, there is some filth and evil in the world, and they are very much reviewing it, very much out there. But when it comes to videos, one of the things that obviously stood out was, remember that jail footage? And there was the whole thing where Pam Bondi was like, you know, there's a reason why there's a minute of footage that is missing, and that's because they use such older systems where I guess at like 11:59, like they just stop and then start recording after a minute. Well, it turns out that might just be bullshit, because in part of this, there was actually release of the extra minute of footage, that contested footage everyone was talking about. So look very carefully at this, okay? Now that that footage has been recovered somehow, you can actually see that, and we'll play most of it just over here for you, again, just to go by the seek bar. Of course, when you get towards the end, you can see that one officer kind of walks towards the entrance of what appears to be the shoe, picks up the phone, and of course gets cleared for entry, and then decides to walk right in. Yeah, there it is. You can actually see him go right in there once the door actually opens. Now again, the thing about this is we went from, there really isn't footage because the tech is so old, now we have the fucking footage. And I don't think this footage would have ever been gotten if it wasn't for the fact that there was, you know, Wired, there was a whole bunch of independent investigators. I mean, I showed you guys how to do the forensics yourself just to verify that the government was bullshitting you. And they were in fact bullshitting you. How do you go from the footage, you know, probably doesn't exist because of, you know, technical limitations to, hold on guys, we have the footage right here for you to see.
And what we learned from Bureau of Prisons was every night the video is reset, and every night should have the same minute missing.
That means, to me, that there's a lot more information that is still not released as part of this massive 30,000 plus file drop. I think it's insane that we're calling this transparency when a lot of the stuff is still very heavily redacted. There's information that consistently contradicts the shitty cover-up that it is. Okay, I said this cover-up was falling apart, and I really do feel that it is absolutely falling apart at the seams, and even more so now that I look at this footage, because again, more and more contradictions just keep kind of flying in regards to this story. But again, to kind of whittle it on back to something that I find a little bit important in this situation is the redaction. I'm not looking for victims or anything. I'm not looking necessarily for, a book that has the header client list on top of it. What I am looking for is transparency in regards to it. It's fine to redact a victim. It's absolutely 100% a-okay for the government to not release CSAM on Google Drive for everybody to download. That is an understandable thing. But it really feels like it's hard to trust a government that wanted to make this stuff so transparent, because even if information does come out, and I guess it's one of those situations where like it's a lose-lose for the government. If you don't release anything, we're still going to be thinking that, the guy running in the office is in the files pretty heavily. And even if they do release something, with how compromised the government is right now, I don't even think the files they will release, even if they're unredacted, might not even be modified. It's actually kind of insane. There really is no trust in the government when it comes to a story related to this, okay? Just because of how poorly everything so far has been handled. Over the weekend, I saw a whole bunch of stuff with people talking about this, right? Where apparently Trump was just not alive for some reason. Somebody had looked through his public schedule, and they were like, yeah, the president has no public events, no public events, no public events for days. The whole weekend he's just gone. And you got the vice president going, I'm ready to take over the presidency. Why would you even fucking say that? You know what I mean? And then images started coming out of Trump looking like an old man. The people were looking at this and going like, damn, dude, he looks haggard. Bro is 78 years old, okay? Somehow, I think we have lost the plot when we allow senior citizens who would probably be fighting at the end of Metal Gear Solid 4 to be running for presidential office, okay? I feel like, every time somebody looked at Biden tripping around, they were like, oh my God, how is this geriatric functioning? Bro, we have two geriatrics running against each other. Maybe it's time to have a fucking age limit on the people that are running the most powerful fucking country in the world. At age 65, they expect your ass to be retired and collecting Social Security. But nah, you can just run one of the most powerful fucking nations in the world. Shit's insane these days. But again, if I call it out, people will say, oh, Moody, you got that derangement syndrome crap. I'm sorry, bro. I think speaking facts is not derangement. And more importantly for me, I just care to go back to the Epstein stuff because I think that's really what's more important. Again, this is a situation that affects the entire world to an extent too. And the reason why it affects the entire world is that even outside of these files dropping, there have been other situations where, again, more and more people from other sides of the world have started to become exposed in connection to Epstein. So for instance, in Israel, there was apparently a massive email leak. 100,000 emails were leaked from their former prime minister, Ehud Barak, and between Epstein, where again, they're just conversating, and to show you how powerful this guy is, right? Again, he's talking with a former prime minister of a country, right? It's kind of insane. I don't have these people in my contact sheets, okay? The most powerful person I have in my contact sheet is, I don't know, no one close to this. That's all I know. But again, you can read words like, of course, from Ehud, he's like, Jeff, thanks. Peter Thiel, by the way, one of the most prominent CEOs right now. One focus of a video that I'm doing, hopefully by this weekend, about Palantir. Could be very interesting, but I'm flying to Europe. Next time, best EB. They're chatting like they're bros. And then, of course, you've got Ehud going to meet him for dinner tomorrow. He has to bring another person with him. I don't know who, why. I met him once in Davos some 2 years ago. Probably doesn't even recall. Let's see. I was told by the host of the dinner that we will probably spend it just talking geopolitics. It's a first date. I think he's a huge potential to accelerate things by the sheer reputation he'd got. This guy's insane. He's just talking to the former fucking prime minister of Israel and shit. And they're talking about Peter Thiel. It's crazy. And of course, Jeff is such a goddamn player. He's like, yeah, Peter can come to dinner on the 9th. Can you stay until then? This guy just is connecting motherfuckers all the time. How deep does a rabbit hole like this actually go? How many people are involved into this? Because it's not how many people, it's how many powerful people, how many people in positions where, they control organizations that are designed for data gathering, surveillance, yada, yada, yada. But again, these are all questions that I think people are absolutely valid in asking, right? And of course, there are ultimately the victims involved in the story. I can't stress that enough. The reason why this story is very interesting, to me at least, is that I feel that if this is handled in the right way, there is a lot of justice to be doled out for people that normally would never even conceive seeing justice in their lifetime. But the longer this charade goes on, and the more the government tries to pretend that we're being transparent, when in reality, they're just releasing old shit. People said this was a bombshell, but in reality, this is like a couple shell casings that we didn't know before that they threw at us with no real context or anything. Again, the government has the chance to do the right thing, okay? The absolute right thing. They are just consistently at every avenue choosing not to. And it's safe for me to say that, listen, personally speaking, I think the big man Trump is absolutely sitting in these files. But I also think that Clinton, I think everybody, regardless of what side of the political aisle you're on, are in these files. Look, at some point, you just have to understand that the people who are in power, whether they're liberals or conservatives or whatever the fuck, they are rich and powerful. They are fucking sitting with the elites. They're sitting with the people that actually control our world, that actually make the decisions. And you know, once you're that powerful, once you're with the elites, okay, you're all in the same pond together, okay? It doesn't matter who's who. You can't be finger pointing. Remember, this Epstein stuff wasn't even disclosed even when those Democrats were in power too. Why was that? Because I highly believe, personally, that for as many Trumps that are involved in this, there's as many Clintons and whatnot involved too. And obviously, I think they're all in it with each other to not release any of this information because ultimately, I don't think anybody wants to be implicated in this. But yeah, they released the Epstein files. Wasn't much of a release. But ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you're educated. Hopefully you've seen stuff. Hopefully you're up to speed. If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I'm still going to be researching this. There's going to be more videos. I want to personally look through these files more so than I have now and really get a bearing if there's something new. Maybe there is going to be more files released. Maybe today. We'll see. I am out.